everybody, welcome back, hope you're doing well. I have one of my regular quarterly videos today. So at the start of every new quarter I put up an updated quarterly makeup inventory check-in video. So this is a way for me to see how my makeup collection has changed over the previous quarter. I look at every single individual category of makeup within my collection, the numbers, and just see how things are kind of looking and compare it to previous quarters. I did used to set myself like target numbers for each of the different categories of makeup and for my collection overall, but I don't do that anymore. I don't want to be like beholden to certain numbers. I want to just own whatever I feel like owning, which for most of the categories is just one product per category, but I do have some other categories where I like to have a few different options to choose from. So my next video will be a quarter 2 makeup purchases check-in video. So in that video I will explain about the new makeup that I've purchased. I won't really, or I will try not to really kind of go into that too much for today's video. Today's video is just an update to see how my collection is looking overall, and I'll break it down into 4 sections. We will do base, cheeks, eyes and lips. So we'll get started with the base products. Starting off with primer. This hasn't changed for the entire year. I've only had one primer for the whole year and it's been the same primer. It is the e.l.f. Power Grip Primer. This is in my project pan, so my previous video was my project pan. I will link it somewhere up here so you can check it out. I don't feel like I really need a primer in my collection, so once I've used this one up I probably won't buy another primer and I will just rely on skincare as my primer. But this is a nice gripping primer, so I sometimes feel like my makeup doesn't really kind of like stick to the centre of my face, I suppose, where I've got like an oily T-zone. So that product does a really good job of helping my makeup kind of stay in place. So it is a nice primer, but I don't feel like I necessarily need it. Foundations next. I had 3 at the start of the year. 3, I'm looking down at my phone by the way where I've got my spreadsheet. 3 at the end of quarter 1, but I'm now down to 2. So the foundation that I used up was the NARS Sheer Glow foundation, and I used it up as part of my project pan, and I actually finished it off on the 2nd of April. So I filmed my quarter 1 makeup inventory check-in video I think probably like a day before that, so it didn't quite kind of like make it into that update, but it's in this update because I did technically finish it up in quarter 2. So I'm now down to 2 foundations. I have the Sculpted by Amy Hydra Tint, which is what I have on today. Lovely skin tint, it's so nice to work with. That I'm trying to use up as part of my project pan because it is now technically out of date, so the clock is going to be ticking. And then I have my Merit Minimalist stick. So once I've used up the Sculpted by Amy, which hopefully I would have used up by the quarter 3 check-in video, I will then work on the Merit Minimalist stick. And for foundations, my aim is to have just one in my collection, and it will be a skin tint. Concealer has changed. So at the start of the year I didn't have any concealers. I finished off all of my concealers last year and I thought let's use my Merit Minimalist stick as my concealer, because you can do that with that product. It kind of doubles up as like a foundation and a concealer. So that's what I did. In April that went up to 1 because I bought the Lisa Eldridge micro correcting skin perfecting concealer, something like that. It's a really small, basically it looks like an eyeliner but it is a concealer, so I bought that. But I then finished that off, and I finished that off on the 8th of June, so I'm now back down to 0 concealers. I will just continue to use my Merit Minimalist stick, but like with foundation, the aim for concealer is to just have one. Colour corrector, I've had one throughout the entire year, but the product itself has changed. So at the start of the year I had the NYX Pro Fix Correcting Concealer Stick in the shade Yellow, which I really didn't like. It was too dry, so stubborn and difficult to blend out, and the colour just wasn't right at all. But I bought that colour because that's what they recommended for dark circles, but it just didn't work on me. But I then finished that off on the 22nd of April, and then as soon as I finished that off, I bought my favourite corrector, under eye corrector, which is the Bobbi Brown under eye corrector in the shade Light Medium Bisque, and that is what I still currently have. I have some of that on today. So much better than the NYX one. Yes, it's like 3 times the price, but it's so good. It's like a holy grail makeup item of mine. Next is powder. This hasn't changed at all for the year. I've only had one and it's been the same product. It is the MAC Mineralized Skin Finish in the shade Light. This I debated putting in my project pan because I do want to use it up, but I thought there wasn't really any point because it's my only powder, so I'm going to end up just working my way through it naturally anyway. So this powder, I got some of it on today. It's okay. There are times where it feels a little bit heavy and then times where it doesn't actually help with any sort of shininess that I get sort of here. So I don't really think it's the best option for me. I think I'm better off with something like a loose powder, maybe like Laura Mercier, Kosas for example. So I am trying to get that one used up. And then next is setting spray. Similar story, had one throughout the whole year, it's been the same product. It is the Revolution Superfix Misting Spray. This, I'm not too keen on the actual spray, it's quite heavy, so I have to kind of spray it in a line and then that affects the actual nozzle. I do think it is a good setting spray though. I do think it does a good job of keeping my makeup in place, even though it does make me initially look a little bit shiny immediately after applying it. But I don't feel like it's going down. I still feel like I've got the same amount of product in it as I did at the start of the year. So this will take a long time to use up, even though I put it on every time I wear makeup. So those were the base products, not too much difference at all. I've basically used up a foundation and a concealer since the Q1 update video. But next is cheek products, and there have been some changes in these categories. Starting off with bronzer. I had one at the start of the year and one at the Q1 check-in video, which was the Merit Bronze Balm or Bronze Stick in the shade Quince, which is a lovely bronzer. Really like the formulation. It's cream, so it's nice and hydrating. It's really easy to build up and the colour is lovely as well. It's a really nice light warm bronze. It's nothing too orange or muddy. It's a really lovely product. I really enjoyed that. I finished that off on the 2nd, let me just find it, the 3rd of May. So I now have no bronzers within my makeup collection, and I'm going to go a while without having bronzer because Carol Brayley, who I had my colour analysis done with, when she said that I was a spring, she recommends for makeup for springs to not go for bronzer because it can darken your look. So I'm just going to go a while not wearing any bronzer, and I feel like I quite like the effect. I feel like my makeup overall is that bit more radiant. Blusher. Now, blusher has doubled. I started off the year on 4, had 4 at the Q1 check-in video, and I've bought 4. So I will talk through those purchases in my next video, but I'm now up to 8. The blushes that I own are the Vive Sunset Blush Balm in Pesca, which is a powder. I have the Merit Flush Balm in Terracotta and the RMS Lip to Cheek in Beloved, both of which are in my project pan. And then I did declutter a blusher. I will link that declutter video. I decluttered another Vive blusher in the shade Piazza, which was just a little bit too dark on me, and I decluttered that on the 17th of May. But then, because that made me go down to 3 blushes, I bought 5 more. I don't regret any of them though. I love all 5 that I bought. I'm very happy with those purchases. But they are 2 of the Giorgio Armani Fluid Sheer highlighters. They're called highlighters, but they're like a blush highlighter in one, so I've put them in the blush category in the shades 11 and 5. And then Westman Atelier Baby Cheeks Blush Stick in Coquette, and then 2 of the Seiju blushes in Hottie and Poppy, and I have Poppy on today, which is a nice bright coral, because I feel like I was missing a couple of spring colours within my blush collection. So yeah, had 4 at the start of the year, 4 in the Q1 check-in, decluttered 1, and bought 5. Next is highlighter. Highlighter has tripled. Started off the year on 1, had 1 at the Q1 check-in. That was the RMS Living Luminizer. That is the original Living Luminizer that they do. That is in my project pan. Not because I necessarily want to get it used up, but I kind of forgot that I had it. So where it's now in my project pan, I use it on a more frequent basis. I have some of it on today. It's a really nice sort of sheen rather than a glittery, sparkly highlighter. And then I bought a couple of highlighters. Again, I will explain in my next video what these are. I'll talk about them in a lot more depth. But I bought the Say Glowy Super Gel in Warm Glow. I bought a mini of that. And then I also bought the Revolution Glow Splendor Ultra Glow highlighter in the shade Lit From Within, which is quite a big powder highlighter. So I have a couple of more highlighter options now for that category. And then face palettes. Face palettes have doubled. This sounds a lot more dramatic than it actually is in terms of like the actual physical numbers, but it has actually doubled. So face palettes, I had one at the start of the year and one at the Q1 check-in video, which is the Hourglass Ambient Lighting Edit palette in the shade Leopard. I have used up 3 pans within that palette. The bronzer, the dim light. What else have I used up? Oh yeah, the actual highlighter. Yeah, that was the very first shade that I used up, but I have 3 pans remaining in that palette, 2 of which I don't use because they're not the right shades for me, and then 1 blusher which I've put on over the top of the Say blush today, which is a nice bright corally pink shade. So once I've used that one up, I will throw away the palette and then I will be down a palette. But I did in the last quarter buy the Vive Dimension Face palette in the shade Solis. I will talk through this palette in the next video, but I had to buy that palette. If you recall me ever speaking about the Vive Dimension Face palettes before, you know how much I love them. I used up an entire one last year, I think now. Loved it. Yeah, because it's not in my inventory. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful palette, and I just had to buy the new one that they came out with. So yeah, there's been a change for every category within the cheeks overall category. So completely used up the bronzers. I have 5 new blushes within my collection, 2 new highlighters and a new face palette. Moving on to eyes. Eyeshadow primer, no changes. I've had the same eyeshadow primer throughout the whole year. It's the NYX eyeshadow base, really good, budget friendly eyeshadow primer. Really like that, I've bought that before. Eyeshadows have changed. So eyeshadow singles, I had 3 at the start of the year and 3 at the Q1 update. These were my mini Giorgio Armani eye tint, which if you saw my Project Pan video, my most recent upload, I've now used up. I also have the RMS eye lights in the shade Moon Dust, which is in my Project Pan. I've got some of that on today. I don't really love it, so I probably will end up decluttering it before I've completely used it up, because that will take me ages to completely use it up. And then I'm also going to declutter the MAC eyeshadow single in the shade All That Glitters. It's a very similar shade to the Giorgio Armani eye tint, but this is so out of date. I mean, the formulation is fine, there's no problems at all, but I think I've had my use out of this. I don't really kind of wear it much anymore. I was only wearing it because it paired really nicely with the eye tint, but now that I've used that up, I don't feel like I necessarily need this. But the Revolution highlighter that I've bought is quite similar to this, but it's peachier, so it's actually a nicer shade, and I feel like I would wear the Revolution one over this. So I think I'm going to get rid of this. I've got a really nice pan in it now, so I've definitely had my use out of it. So yeah, I'm going to declutter this, which means that I'm now down to just 1 eyeshadow, which is the RMS highlights. Yes, I'm not sure how well you can see that, but this is the MAC one and this is the Revolution one. So the Revolution one is that little bit more peachy, it's a bit slightly deeper in colour, there's a little bit of bronze in there as well, and I think overall I just kind of prefer that shade. So they are quite similar, but I do prefer the Revolution one. Eyeliner pencils have changed. I had one at the start of the year and the same one at the Q1 check-in, which was the Victoria Beckham eyeliner in the shade Cinnamon, I think it is called. Yes, Cinnamon, which is a nice, relatively dark, warm brown, really nice shade. Really lovely quality eyeliners. They are so creamy, you can actually use them as all over eyeshadows as well, which I did do a few times, but I finished that off in my most recent Project Pan update video. So I'm now down to 0 eyeliners, and I will try my hardest not to buy any eyeliners again, or for a considerable amount of time. I really like eyeliners in terms of like their marketing, I'm always pulled in by it, but on a day-to-day basis I just don't really use them, and whenever I have them I always have to like force myself to use them. It's a case of, right, you have this eyeliner, get it used. I don't naturally reach for it. I don't really do a lot with my eyes. I'm much more of like a cheek and lip person, so I don't feel like I need another eyeliner in my collection, so I'm now down to 0. Mascara has stayed the same in terms of numbers, but the product has changed. So I did have the Maybelline Lash Sensational Sky High Mascara in brown, but I finished it off on the 30th of April. I've used that a couple of times, It's good. It's not a great mascara. It's a really easy to get mascara, and where it's Maybelline it's quite affordable, so I think that's why I've bought it a few times, because it's just an easy option. But I do prefer the Yves Saint Laurent Lash Clash, I think it's called, in brown. That's lovely. But I am now using the Lancome Lash Idol True Brown Mascara, and I really like that one as well. So although that one and the Yves Saint Laurent one are pricier, where I only have one mascara open and then use it constantly for 6 months, I don't mind spending a bit more on mascara if I'm going to get a better one. So that's the mascara that I have. And then eyebrows have also changed. I basically had 2 products for the whole year. But again, the products have changed. So I had the ABH Brow Wiz in medium brown, which I still have. Got it on today. Really great shade match for my brows. Really nice fine pencil as well. These types of products I can usually get through in like 2 months. I've tried the Benefit one before, I've tried the NYX one, and honestly they take me about 2 months to get through. This one is going strong. This one I opened on the 10th of December and we're now nearly 7 months later, and there's still product left. There's not much though. I reckon I've probably got another month, but that's fantastic. And I then had the ABH Brow Freeze, a mini one of those. I bought them in a set together. That one I used up on, I didn't write down when I used it up, but I've used that one up, and I've now replaced it with a mini of the Benefit 24-hour brow setter, which there's pros and cons for both. So with the ABH one, I like that it's firmer. It really does set my brows in place that little bit better, but it's thicker. So I like the thinner consistency of the Benefit one, but I just wish it had the staying power and was a little bit harder on my brows. And the ABH one as well, it left like white deposits on my brows, which I do not like. So the numbers have stayed the same, but the products themselves have changed. So some changes for the eye categories then. So I've used up and decluttered a couple of eyeshadows, I've used up an eyeliner, I've changed over the mascara, and I've changed the brow gel that I was using. So let's finish off on lip products. Lip balms, they have changed. At the start of the year I had 2, and then for the Q1 update I had 3. That's because I bought the Vive Bounce Balm, which I'm really enjoying. I really do like that product. But I'm now down to 2 because I decluttered the Violette Bisou Balm in Batiste. Didn't really like the shade on me, but I thought that would happen. I bought it knowing it probably wasn't the best shade for me, and it's not. I've passed that on to my boyfriend's sister and she seems to like it. So that has gone down. Lip liners, they've changed a little bit as well. I had 4 at the start of the year, went up to 6, and I'm now down to 5. So I decluttered 2 lip liners. Again, I gave them to my boyfriend's sister. I decluttered the MAC Chicory lip liner and the Charlotte Tilbury Iconic Nude, but then I bought another Charlotte Tilbury lip liner because I really like that formulation, but I just wasn't keen on the shade of Iconic Nude. And I've heard that Pink Venus is a really good option for True Springs, so I bought it, and it is. So those are just the little changes for lip liners. So from 4 to 6, now to 5. Lipsticks have changed as well. So I started off the year on 15. I then went down to 14. And that's because I used up the Lisa Eldridge Kitten Mischief lipstick as part of my Project Pan. And I'm now down to 10. I used up 2 of the Iconic London Melting Touch lip balms. One in the shade Strapless, one in the shade Undone. Nice enough formulations, did not like the shades on me at all. And then I also decluttered 2 lipsticks as well. I decluttered 2 House of Colour ones, one in the shade Rust and one in the shade Autumn Shimmer. So I'm now down to 10 lipsticks in total. And then lastly, lip gloss. This has changed as well. So I started off the year on 2, which were the Maybelline Lifter glosses, one in the shade Peach Ring, one in the shade Sweetheart. I then went up to 4. I think what happened is I bought 3 lip glosses. I bought 2 of the Vive Lip Dews, one in the shade Straw, one in the shade Cherub, and then a Lisa Eldridge Gloss Embrace in the shade Go Lightly. But I think I then finished off the Maybelline Lifter Gloss in Peach Ring, so that's why the numbers were at 4 at the last check-in. But I'm now down to 1. That's because I used up Sweetheart, the other Maybelline lip gloss, and then I decluttered both of those Vive lip dews. Again, I've given them to my boyfriend's sister. So I'm now down to just one, which is the Lisa Eldridge Gloss Embrace in the shade Go Lightly. That's what I have on here over the top of Revlon Coral Berry. It's a lovely, lovely lip gloss. I find that I'm reaching for that a lot, so that might actually end up being a product I will repurchase. It's just a really lovely coral pink lip gloss. So some changes in numbers for the lip products as well. So the lip balms, liners, sticks and glosses have all changed. So in terms of what I've used up and decluttered for quarter two, I have used up 11 pieces of makeup, which I'm really quite pleased about. In quarter one I only used up 2. In quarter two I decluttered 9 products, and I think most, if not all of them, ended up going to my boyfriend's sister. I try my hardest not to actually throw away pieces of makeup. I also try not to declutter as well, but sometimes you can't help it. And then I will talk about this in my next video. I bought 12 new pieces of makeup. So in terms of overall numbers, in January, at the very, very start of the year, I had 45 pieces of makeup in total in my collection. At the start of quarter two, I had 50 pieces of makeup. That went up by 5. And how we're looking now at the start of quarter three, I am down to 42 pieces of makeup. So I've gone down by 8 pieces of makeup in comparison to the start of quarter two. So I know I said I didn't really have goals in terms of numbers for my makeup collection, but I feel like being in the 30s is a good number for me to have. I don't want to be up near like 50 again. 42 where I'm at is good, but I do still think that there is room to go down. So I want to use up one of the foundations. I have too many blushes at 8, even though I like all 5 that I bought in. I think it's just the ones that I have remaining, not remaining, the ones I had before I bought the 5. I'm not that bothered about, hence why a couple are in my project pan. And I could probably do with reducing some of the lipsticks as well, but like I say, for most of my makeup videos, especially my quarterly check-in videos, blushes and lipsticks, I will always have more than one because I like variety. I like different options to choose from in those categories. So that's my update for how my makeup collection is looking now we are at the start of quarter three. It feels very weird to be in quarter three. For some reason in my head, being in July doesn't equal quarter three. For me, quarter three is like September, October, November, but it's absolutely not. I just associate quarter three with autumn. But no, we're not. It's just very weird. But anyway, I hope you liked that. I hope you liked that update. If you are keeping track on your inventory, let me know how it's looking for you. And I will be back with my quarter two makeup purchases video. So I will film that right now and I will see you again very soon for that. Bye bye.